All right. You're with the DJ Dablin, or DJ Dab, aka The Last Dragon. And I'm here to go over a presentation I've been meaning to do for a while, especially, I would say, in the world of the occult or etherical knowledge. It comes from a place that's unique, a little different. And these are based on experiences that I have had over the past 7 to 8 years, with a culmination of other things. But let's begin first by opening up our imaginations. So you see here on my presentation screen, we have the Earth. Now let's just take for a second and imagine that we are a UFO, right? We're just a little UFO floating around our planet here. And as you see, you got the Milky Way galaxy over here, which is just really showing you the depth of field of our galaxy's star clusters. And this is a very powerful thing right here, here besides the Earth, as we are in our UFO, looking back at our planet. Why is this a powerful thing here? Well, let's get into a little bit of, I would call it a scientifical imagineering. We're going to say, okay, back in 2012, everybody talked about it. The sun, our star, was going to pass through the center of this Milky Way. And for us, that meant a great shift was coming. Now, every star in our galaxy has to rotate around the galactic center, which has a black matter entity, or a black hole to be scientific, that everything in our galaxy must rotate around. And our galaxy is also what's called a spiral galaxy. A spiral galaxy is very organized. It has, the best way to describe it is pinwheel type of arms as it spins, which looks very much like, let's say, the starfish here on Earth, or even better yet, a hurricane, where there's an eye of the storm and everything rotates around the eye of the storm. That is the way a galaxy is. And everything in the couple of objects I just named use a mathematical equation called Fibonacci sequence, which allows for many objects to exist without having to collide with each other in a uniform manner. And they form what we observe as compact uniform systems. That is our galaxy. And our star does a bobbing movement up and down like a sine wave through the galaxy's lower plane, middle plane, and upper plane throughout its rotational motion through the galaxy as well. So that's several motions going on with just our star having to go up and down. That means it carries the entire solar system up and down through the galaxy. Well, in this uniform flow, other stars in our galaxy are probably doing very similar motions. And this allows for very, very different frequencies within each star to resonate during different times. Saying our star, having just gone through the galactic shift, which is rarely talked about in a lot of, I would call it the occult science teacher stuff now. But having just gone through that galactic rift, has received knowledge that, it hadn't had in a while. And I can tell you that, being a starborn child, stars do have consciousness of themselves. They don't have hands, they don't have toes and fingers and eyes, but they have consciousness of self. And very similar to, I would call it, let's say, the Professor Xavier effect in his machine called, what is his machine called? Cerebro. Being able to connect with many human beings and mutants around the planet. The sun's kind of the same thing. It is a cerebro entity. Not having to necessarily interact with our planet, but on a subconscious level, it interacts with our planet. Now, at the same note, what am I really getting at? Well, if you are a studier of the higher sciences, and this is not fiction or even, just me spouting off my own imagination, that everything above us, which is also below this planet, corresponds with everything on the planet. And our planet is a sphere. It is not flat. The spherical nature is something the universe creates to complement a physical physics formula that allows things to use energy in a very uniformed way. The sphere. Flat pancakes, they waste energy. Let's be honest, okay? It's a wasteful energy system, so our planet would never be flat. But these are things that, when you have a knowledge of how the galaxy works, you understand the galaxy is on a plane. And it has upper plane, middle plane, and a lower plane. Well, yes, that, describes our galaxy in its fullest. It's kind of flat. We have a flat galaxy. We don't have a flat planet. Now, on that note, as is above, so is below, and so is below, so is above, and that can go in many different directions, because the planet is in a space. So below to us also, if we are thinking this is up, which, to be honest with you, isn't always the case, then that means everything surrounding the Earth reflects itself right down to us. Okay? With that said, let's take a peek at a place called Long Beach, California. Ooh, look how our UFO just zooms in. Now, imagine our UFOs hovering right around here, and we can see Fresno, we can see Bakersfield, we can see Los Angeles, we can see all of these different places here on the globe that are now named for us to view, as if, we had like a map in our spaceship as we're flying here over Earth. So as we're flying over Earth, we don't have to navigate, but, we're going to navigate a little bit with this utility here. So let's bring our UFO down a little bit. Boom, here we are. Now we're right over the coast of California in Long Beach. Notice the beautiful visuals that describe how the plates underneath the ocean have ridges and rifts and fissures and deep enclaves. This is another terrain that's below the surface of the Earth. So therefore, we're also talking again another reflective state of, as is above, so will be below. So our oceans being below us receive a different frequency, but they have to receive the same frequency from above. Okay? So, now, let's play a little bit more into this. If you are also a studier of the cosmic forces, you know water is the best cosmic force going. It's the best cosmic force going, period. The reason why it's the best cosmic force going, period, is it's engineered to use vibratorial states of consciousness. And I didn't say human, I just said consciousness. Okay? And that in itself will give you a little bit of a clue to where we're about to go. Water is the data receptor of consciousness. It's as if, the planet Earth has a hard drive system called water, and it stores data, just like the data on your computer stores data to keep your files organized, to make sure, all the creative sounds or artistic work or documents you're working on are saved and in their place. So our water operates very similar in that nature. Now, understanding that there are many on the planet who've already done their due diligence to understand that as well. Well, they've been at work on the surface of the planet with that knowledge for many, many years. Not just 20, not just 30, not just 100. We can push it back to around, I would say, almost 1,000 years ago, when a part of the human consciousness caught up to something that was ancient and started to revitalize it. And at that point, the revitalization was hidden. It wasn't just in the open. The knowledge that they were using to build upon the planet was kept for a higher society, so to speak, to use. Now, that involves communities like Masons, Rosicrucians, many sects of Christianity, and many sects of the Islam knowledge from the Arabs, and as well the focal point being Egypt, where all of that honestly stems from, because the culture of Egypt had a much longer understanding of planetary solar system history, our story, and they used that technology of a planetary idea to do a lot of things on the planet that we as a current culture don't know even exist. Now, Masons build cities. They've been building cities for a very, very, very long time. A black Mason built Washington, D.C. He was very, adept in his sciences of architecture and scale and object-orientated manipulation. Now, object-orientated manipulation is a word I'm borrowing from computer science, where we use object-orientated programming to keep objects encapsulated so that they are separate from themselves, but also can work with other objects. Now, as a Mason doing architecture, you understand that being in an object-orientated world, you can create programming. So, I say all that to say, DC was built on a Masonic understanding. Many other cities were built on Masonic understanding. So this isn't even a question. Okay, this is more of a statement to be used so that we can explore. Now let's explore in our UFO. And we're going to take our UFO a little bit closer into Long Beach here. Now, why am I focusing on Long Beach? I'm focusing on Long Beach because back in 2010, I moved into Long Beach this summer of 2010. And it wasn't a planned move. I was very happy where I was in LA, but I was following my heart in using all the signals around me to move as water, and found myself in Long Beach the summer of 2010. And I was going through a transformation process already. The process had started in a city called Studio City, which we might take our UFO to a little later on or in another video. But the power of Studio City running through my already enhanced body, because I've been enhancing my body for a long time, gave me a lot of revelation where I was now walking, I would say, in a path through California that was underground. Being able to see signs that other people couldn't see, as most of the culture is asleep. I took the time to just breathe in all that good prana, all that good energy that, flows around a lot of the Masonic built programming. Now, it's not evil, it's not good. Like I said, it's just energy. And I breathe it in, I'd use it. Now, it opened up a certain level of awareness to me that I wasn't using when I was back on the East Coast in Washington, D.C., but I was very aware of. Just wasn't using it. And when I came to Long Beach, there was an altering of frequency between Studio City and Long Beach that was such a big rift in frequency of energy that my body, and it just took notice right away. And now I've studied many different, bodily systems, from, how the body's meridian, our spine, is very similar to a lot of the architecture that's built in Egypt. They represent a lot of the body in temples, so to speak, so that therefore that temple resonates on a body frequency with programming. Well, let's just say Long Beach had an interesting programming. Now, what I'll start with is, when I first moved to Long Beach, I moved to 3rd and Cherry. I'm not going to drive you there right now in our UFO. I'm going to just sort of hover here. But 3rd and Cherry, if you can see my mouse here, see my mouse? Is right around this area, okay? Okay, and what happens on 3rd and Cherry is there's a shift in, I would call it, the people and the type of people you'll run into. So once you go above 3rd and Cherry, you're running into a Latino community and a black community up north of that that's very downtrodden, that has a lot of homelessness. Homeless people sleep on, parks in droves out there. It's, it feels a little destitute, but then it's also kind of very rich right there in your face, which is, a little strange. Reminds me of South Africa in a way, but it was very strange, and this jarred my soul. And I began my first, I would call it, exploration of Long Beach when I realized that I was sitting at a Starbucks on my laptop, and beside me was a Masonic temple. And it keyed me in to just say, then there's something extra here. Even if you see homeless people 1 block away, there's something extra here. Research. I'm a researcher. So I dove in. So I'm going to take you in, and I'm going to dive in here, and I'm going to show you some of the things that I discovered while I walked through Long Beach many nights. The first night I walked through Long Beach, I'm going to describe it to you. And it was a very amazing process. But I began by just saying to myself, well, seek first what, this Masonic building is trying to show you when it's right here in front of your face in a very prominent place in Long Beach. And that's kind of what led me to dive. So let's see if we can dive a little further. Ooh, look at our UFO as it gets a little closer in. Oof, oof, okay. So we're coming down what is one of my favorite streets in Long Beach. This is Ocean, okay? And if we come a little bit here and just a little bit here, what do you see? You see a building with a nice bit of architecture here, building with a little bit of nice architecture here, and then you see these big buildings here. Okay, now I'm not showing you the front faces of these buildings, I'm just showing you the back faces of these buildings. I will go to the front faces of them. But here lies an amazing place called Pine Street. Pine Street, which, to be very frank with you, is the pineal gland. Okay? It stands for the pineal gland. Just like any pine cone you might reference in the Vatican, it's definitely just telling you exactly what it is. It's the pine cone of the brain. So this is the beginning of Pine, sort of. Let's go a little further here. Boom. Okay. Let the map catch up. This is Pine. Pine runs itself right down into a promenade and ends in a cul-de-sac. Now let's travel up Pine before we actually get any deeper by what happens at the water. But up Pine, let's just take our UFO up there, and I'm sure a lot of people are freaking out right now watching our UFO fly by. Ooh, look at that UFO. UFO. All right, so here's Pine, and this is pretty much the corner I'm describing to you in the beginning of my talk when I said that there was a Starbucks I'm sitting at, which is right here. It's going to come into view, I'm pretty sure, soon. But right here is a Masonic building. No, I'm sorry, right here is a Masonic building, if you can see my mouse. And this Masonic building wasn't in operation while I was there, but it was also utilized for many things. It just wasn't being utilized as I would call it a Masonic lounge. Now, the street here is Third, and the third eye is very important, and number threes are very important. So we have your Pine Street here culminating at Third, where there's a Masonic temple. Come down Third Street and you will begin to see what I called the Grand Temple of the Sun and Moon that was built to honor that energy. And it's no mistake that it's parallel to Pine Street, but it's not even a street. This is a promenade. And at the top of this promenade, there's a beautiful mural, okay? And it shows so many cultures coming together, sitting at the beach, having a good time, enjoying the sun, moon, and the stars, and just being one as a culture, okay? Now, I could tell you back in the day, I used to count everything, and I still do, but I used to count the amount of feet between this and the crossing of the street, and then getting from this crossing of the street, walking through the promenade, there are manhole covers, which aren't really manholes, placed every so many feet, and they have little symbolisms on them. And you come down here, and here's another one. Okay, I can't really recall the exact distance of each one, but it was somewhere around 78 to 90 steps between each one. And I could be somewhere off there. But the symbolism of that was the number system, of course, that is being used by the Mason who designed the city. Now, this promenade is allowing for, I would call, an energy vault to be used through this city, and it has a very symbolic ending. As you come down this promenade, you have to cross another street, and you come into a housing area that still plays along the promenade and ends here. What is this right here? This right here. Ooh, we can't even get the UFO to act right now. Let's drive our UFO correctly here. This right here is a symbol of a zodiac sign. And this zodiac sign, amazingly to me, was oh gosh, I can't even say it without thinking too hard. We were Pisces, Aquarius. Okay, this is the Aquarius sign right here. And what led me to really understand that, looking at the depth of field here, that we were in a star temple, I turned the corner on this Aquarius dot and I went in this direction, which is going in between several buildings. Okay, but in between these several buildings is a fountain right here. Okay, and this fountain right here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fish on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fish on this side. It's a Pisces symbol. It's a symbol of a Piscean fish pool, so to speak. And it's hidden. It's very well hidden because it's in between two different living complexes. But if you want to know where we're headed to, we're headed right back to Pine Street. So I would continue walking, get myself past that, and be back on Pine, and not quite at Pine and Third, as Third is up that way. Okay, but then I'd come here, and I'd keep walking through the infrastructure of buildings to find myself at this next pool. And this next pool, we'll zoom out a little bit if we can. It doesn't really want me to zoom out. Ugh, zooming in. Let's go back. This pool right here was a Virgo. Okay, this pool right here is the exact opposite cardinal sign of the Piscean sign. It's a Virgo, it's a virgin. And this is the beginning of a connecting of dots that the Masons do when building cities. You see this all over, from the Vatican to DC. This is nothing new. But what's so special about what they're doing here, especially since I kind of opened up with talking about water, is they're using water power. They're using an electrical system of water to channel their city with a little bit different energy. Now, this energy is multiplied by the fact that if we can get back into space here, which it might take me a second to figure out. Oh yeah, let's exit the ground view. There we go. Okay. This energy, exit ground view. Bang. There we go. This energy is captured and utilized by whoever understands why Long Beach is on the 33rd parallel of the ley lines of the Earth. So with this energy being captured, there's also another sign. I'm not going to go explore for that one right now. But with this energy being captured, you can see right here next to us, right next to these pools, is the electrical lines for the Los Angeles metro system. Okay, electricity and magnetism and water are all coinciding here. And this nature of a building of a city, when you drop in your electrical systems, when you drop in your water systems and how they work, all correspond if you know how to build a city based on occult knowledge. So the electrical system here, carrying all the way from Los Angeles right down to Long Beach, an electrical line, corresponds as it wraps around and ends going back out into LA. but wraps right around this pool of water, which is, again, like I said, that is our Virgo, which also wraps around our Piscean pool with the 12 fish, which also wraps around our Aquarius. Okay? Now, here was a grand park, and this image here, or this building here, was, and I don't know if it still is, a representation of people in a jet, but also in a boat, flying and floating over water at the same time. I have photos probably still in my Google account that show the actual imagery with inside of this little monument, but beautifully designed, just looked like something real innocent, but it had a lot of symbolism built into it, and it's very modern. Now you can see this temple ends with a gate that goes out of it, and each one of these little, I would call them places on the ground, have a lot of symbolism drilled into the artwork that describes what's going on. So here is almost a representation of, I would say, the Milky Way galaxy and exiting the Milky Way galaxy. Now, you can derive that once you get down on the ground there and see that there is definitely a representation of the galaxy we see that I was showing you guys earlier from above when our UFO was up in the sky. These things are written into Long Beach in order to give this specific temple area what I would call the vibration to capture soul energy. And here we are at the top of that promenade. Okay, here where my mouse is. I'm gonna shake it hard so you can see. Okay, that's the top of the promenade. It goes all the way down, down, down until it reaches ocean. And once it reaches ocean, it stops. It does not continue. But that's only if you're not paying attention. The promenade then continues and goes into the Long Beach Convention Center in a more artful way. I'm trying to find the right word. So you come across here, leaving the promenade, and you see here you're sucked into a vortex. They're giving you very vortexual art here on the ground, which I tried to describe happens all through this area. There's art on the ground describing the energy flow. Now you keep walking and you see now you are in sinusoidal cosine complementing waves, which means you're moving between time. It's a time traveler's dream in a way. You're not stuck to having anything, I would call it, hinder your view of time. And that's what this whole artistic representation is. You travel through the time portal, then you're given the ability to look at both sides of time. And at the beginning of this art way, the entrance that brings you up to the convention center is a Vesica Pisces, which is the Stargate of the woman, which allows for souls to re-enter and rebirth into the planet. And it's no mistake that there's two electronic, I would call it, Tesla towers right there around the Vesica Pisces. Now let's continue to walk where the promenade seemed to have stopped. And now you see a representation of the sun and the moon side by side. Now, the sun here and the moon here represent an eclipse that hasn't happened yet, okay? Or is always happening. Every time the eclipse happens, this is really what we're about to see. A wave of energy is blocked, and now the moon and its darkness gives off a dark energy into time, crossing over through the sinusoidal cosine waves, allowing for things to be born through time. So here, again, like I said, is an eclipse that happens. Now, they're asking you to take a choice here. Are you going to stop with the sun and just stay in the convention center? Or are you going to take the path of the moon? Well, let's take the path of the moon and see where that ends us. Well, the path of the moon ends us into what I called the I called it the Long Beach UFO. Beautiful architecture here. If you count all the spires here, you'll get a very powerful Masonic number, which I cannot recall. It's been years now since I've counted these spires. But it ends here in a UFO, where now you have spatial freedom again, beyond the star and the moon. Now, it ends on the waterfront. Why on the waterfront? Because, again, as I explained to you before, water carries the data of the planet. So now data and the in the UFO here can interact with each other and give each other complementing energies. So walk a little further, and this thing actually lets you come down a spiral staircase and come underneath it, and now you can walk along the shoreline here, and you'll see there's a lot of symbolism along this shoreline that leads you to the pier. And you walk all the way around this dock until you reach the Rainbow Harbor. And the Rainbow Harbor, oh, rainbow. Well, I don't have to tell you what that symbolizes. It's telling you it's a rainbow, which is the culmination of all colors of light. Well, obviously my UFO here is telling you that we are now entering all of the light spectrums. We can now use all the light spectrums to enter Rainbow Harbor. And again, I said to you that Pine Street comes down and ends here in a cul-de-sac. Remember I said that at the very beginning, or somewhere near the beginning? Well, look at how it's shaped, kind of like, another little pine cone. And there's no mistaking that they know exactly that they've, captured energy, moving people in these directions, and now have the energy brought down to the water that they need to put data into the water. So with this data that's now entering the water, we are in a powerful temple. The temple that started way back up there, at the top of this walkway, has culminated down here into, I would call it the Walk of the Water. Now the Walk of the Water is an amazing view. Long Beach is a beautiful city. So if you've ever walked to this, there's a lot of merchants here. There's a lot of beautiful restaurants, and there's a lot of symbolism. As always, it's never given up. Here we are in a amphitheater that's an outdoor amphitheater that is going to resonate sound. So here's another Masonic device. Sound is a very powerful object. In an amphitheater right here, after bringing pine down to the water, you can vibrate that pine with sound. And here, if you see what I'm looking at from above, is just what most people walk over every day, but they don't even realize it's a representation of the earth. Sound, earth, and we're here right by an amphitheater that gives you sound on the earth. I'm giving you all of these symbols to give you a reason for this, but first you must see it. So let's continue our walk as if we'd left the promenade. We're going still around Rainbow Harbor. Here is a lot of merchants that you'd see. Here is, good eateries. One of my favorite eateries over here. What was it called? Bubba Gump, Chili's. You can see their logo here in the Google map. And here is a couple of Vesica Pisces buildings that always stood out to me, but they're definitely Vesica Pisces if you look at the top of them, and they're really just tourist centers where you can go get information, but there's no reason for it to be two Vesica Pisces right next to each other coming right down into another walkway that brings you into the water. So here is another energy catcher, and even this cul-de-sac is a great energy catcher. Its symbology is almost retro to the symbology that you see over here. They're complementing each other. The circle dot dot. Now you see my cootie shot, or now I have my cootie shot. This is almost like an inoculative area to make sure that the energy here is pure and and almost encapsulated. Okay, because what you're doing here is you're capturing a lot of powerful energies that other people wouldn't recognize. So what you continue to do is walk around the water only to find out that you're going to get the Fibonacci sequence right here. And the Fibonacci sequence, again, like I said to you, is how everything is uniformly done in nature, from starfish to flower petals to galaxy rotations to hurricanes. They're using the mathematics of Fibonacci to organize themselves in a uniform system where a lot of things can exist in one unit and not collide or destroy each other, because the goal is to not destroy while building. Okay, and that's what nature does. It definitely just keeps a uniform nature and does not destroy upon itself. Now here, if you walk around further, you're going to pass the aquarium here. Beautiful aquarium. Oh my god, I missed the aquarium. But you're going to pass the aquarium here, and you're going to end up at the compass. Beautiful compass. In fact, I mean, it's so symbolic of everything a compass should do, from not just point north, south, east, west, but everything in between, and also give you the balance of light and dark. Okay, so this compass here brings a lot of the centering back into what I would call the snake's way, where if you're a soul and you're ever, passing through snake's way, that means you've lost your kundalini. You're no longer attached to a physical body. And now your disembodiedness gives you the ability to go in every direction without senses, because you're no longer going to be a five sensing being. You're kind of lost now into the world of non-senses. So this is all expressed with the next pathway that I could take you up, but I will go actually further down and let's continue to the water. And if you go a little bit further in past the compass, you're given 3 Masonic symbols real quickly here. Look at the Queen Mary out there. Hey, Queen Mary! But right here, in this little area, if you've ever been to Long Beach, is a symbol of Triton and Neptune. And here, they're giving us basically the god of the water power. Because the god of the water power means you can understand all the data that comes from everywhere, all of it. Not one single information piece of data could be lost if you are the god of water, Neptune. So here, is a minor temple built towards Neptune that goes right again towards the water. Now, my favorite thing to do would be to turn this way. See that lighthouse out there? Ooh, beautiful lighthouse. And what I would do is I would walk up Snake's Way. But a lot of times I wouldn't even walk up Snake's Way, which, let's exit ground view again. And this is what I considered Snake's Way. It's in the desert. It's sand surrounding it, so it's definitely like a little beachy area. And it comes all the way up through the desert, through the desolate land of death. And it leads you to the beautiful Long Beach Lighthouse. Beautiful Long Beach Lighthouse. Now, like I'm trying to describe to you, this is an entire temple. I have not left an entire Masonic temple from the minute we were on Pine Street till right now. We are still within a very powerful man-made Masonic temple, because actually none of this landmass existed before man made it. Okay, they engineered Long Beach to be this way. It did not look this way. The shoreline was way further in. There's just a lot of civil engineering that went into making Long Beach what it is. Now, being that they built this lighthouse here, okay, and as you see, it also receives a coil. It receives another kind of Fibonacci sequence, ending with a lighthouse in the middle of the Fibonacci sequence, which, as your center of your galaxy, I told you there is a very powerful entity there, which is a black hole, but here we find a lighthouse, which symbolizes a black hole. But a lighthouse gives out light. It doesn't absorb light. It actually gives out light. Well, we're at the center of a very powerful, magical temple here. This is the focal point of their temple. We've now gathered a lot of the energies, and we've now brought them to the center of the galaxy, and we are working with what I call galactic powers. These galactic powers, the city is conjured down, are now manifested for anybody who understands some of the way the sun and the moon work. Now, in the mornings, I would walk down here, and I would sit right here at this lighthouse, and I would look this way across the other galactic center Fibonacci sequence, and I would view out and see where the sun would rise. And now, amazingly, I'm going to show you something that most people never notice. It rises in between these buildings. See this 101? See this binary number system here, which is like a computer program. The sun can rise in between these buildings many a time, especially during the I would say the summer, fall months. You're seeing the sun rise from within this temple in this direction. And what's even crazier is there is a pyramid right there in this area. Let's see if we can hunt it down. I don't know if it's going to show up necessarily on the map, but no, it doesn't look like it wants to show up. But if any of you want to visit Long Beach for yourself, you'll find that there's a pyramid in there. And that's no coinkydink, that's just more of their engineering to bring forth the knowledge that they used when they built this city. In fact, let me just verify that I'm in the right building area. Yes, I was. So, we're getting here now a disconnect from where we were, which was the lighthouse, but I'm showing you this because all of this is how you connect the dots of a city, especially when it's built in such an abstract way that Long Beach seems to be built in, but is very, very actually organized system of human consciousness around the way humans move to channel their energy. So let's come back out here. Now, sitting out here, you can see a lot of things. You can see the Queen Mary, which we need to actually get ourselves orientated towards. Okay. And wow, boom. Okay, so there's the Queen Mary. Now, she sits in the harbor across from the lighthouse here in a museum type area where she's a relic now, and people go here and have parties, and you have a beautiful dome here. I forget what this guy's used for, but I've actually DJ'd a party right here overlooking the water. It was actually a wedding party and reception. Really dope ass party, really dope people. And here I don't really know so much, but I do know this area here is called the Mayan, or the Illusion. Okay, these were the Illusion hotels, basically. So over here you've kind of reached Maya, and these were lit up so beautifully at night with all different rainbowic colors, just sort of drawing your eye away from the Queen Mary if you're not careful. But the Queen Mary was the focal point, being that she's an ancient, no, I can't say ancient, but she's carrying ancient souls who have yet to be freed from their plight of living and dying in an environment that might have been hostile at one point, non-hostile. But there's a lot of secrets on the Queen Mary about the souls that have had to sail her as she moved across the water. For many years now, okay? And now she's retired, but these souls are bound to her, and she's here for a reason, because she has some very powerful souls. Now, here is the cruise ships that always come in. They always dock looking all sexy, like, you know what I mean? This is obviously where, if you're ever going to, head to Tijuana and some of those other nice places in Mexico, you're going to jump on one of these guys. Now, let's just pull out a little further here. Let's get our UFO back in the sky. Crimson Island, little hidden spot. Also, a very powerful little spot. Never been there, but the energy from here channels uh, pretty much the north, south, east, west cardinal directions, and also another minor galaxy formation. So, what you're seeing in all of Long Beach are several galaxies represented. A galaxy here, a galaxy down in here, right there, right by the aquarium. You're getting whirlpool energies here, and you're getting whirlpool energies here, and you're getting Vesica Pisces here as you approach all of this water. And again, like I've described to you, the waterfront is like where the temple culminates and brings a lot of the energy from the data that is culminated in water and traps it. So anybody who is an adept would know that. And there were many nights when I would walk along this path at 3 a.m. coming back, and I would take this path right here where my mouse is, coming back from my walks to discover that not only am I looking at a water temple, I'm also looking at a what do you call this now? A temple of the dead right here. And I understood this being the lower world through the fantastical visitation of, we'll call it an Oni, that was walking me through Long Beach a lot, showing me these things. And this being a temple of dead people here means that now we have a lot of the ancients dwelling here and asking for things of the living in this water temple here. I could go a lot deeper in that, but I should probably do a little bit more research, as I have not, to be honest with you, looked at this in so long, and I'm just going off my head again. But walking through this temple, you'll find the number counting system is very, very powerful. There's 33s everywhere. There's 7s everywhere. And it's giving off a very, I would call it, drawn in nature. Something draws people in here. And I mean, that's probably why it's the front of the Performing Arts Center. Where, art being the most powerful culture on the planet. So, with that said, let's go a little deeper into what happened. I would call it the 6 months I started to discover a lot of this nature within the city, hidden. Well, around the 4th or 5th month, I was located again here on Pine in a building, which I will find for you right here so you see it from the top. Boom, right here. I was located in this building, and I was doing a lot of my artwork and my DJ work at a yoga studio that was here. It was, I would call, the lady who ran the yoga center was at one point dating a lady named BB McGill, who is Beyonce's guitarist or lead guitarist, lead conductor. And she took a liking to me because of my peaceful, calm nature. And especially when we would do yoga classes, she said to me, "You're always glowing, and like you have this glow after we do the fire breathing, that I don't usually see on people." And I said, "Well, I just love oxygen." I tried to play it off, but there was a specific time around the winter. Okay, so now we're coming from September, October, November, December, January. We're in January, and I'm in this yoga center. It's colder now, no longer summer, and I would spend some of my nights here researching some of the books I had. And again, this is before 2012 had passed, and I'm reading the Mayan book on their calendar and how their counting system worked. And I started to do some of their glyphs and draw some of their glyphs down. And when I started drawing some of their glyphs, I was privileged to be visited by an ancient, who's probably part of that culture, um, who wanted to now just let me know that for a fact what I was discovering was to be used and not to be left alone, because it felt, the way it was describing it to me, that this was being misused and not used in the capacity that it would love to have seen it used, being that we were on its land, or its ancient land. And it never told me about a past life it had. It never told me it was a ghost. It was just what it was, a powerful knowledge energy. And it never asked me to do anything. It really just started telling me knowledge. And the gentleman I was working with at the time, his name is TC Islam of the Universal Zulu Nation of Hip Hop, encountered the same energy and began putting an art piece up within that building that was a master key. The master key he put at the very top of a pyramid, and then he drew a very powerful pyramid system, almost like the upper world looking down at the lower world within this building in the back wall. And he told me for a fact he was just dealing with something that was just leading him. And I told him I already understood and not to worry, just to follow through. So he followed through. He built this beautiful art piece within there. I'm sure it's been taken down by now. I mean, this is almost 6-7 years ago. And we both, had a moment where we broke down and cried to each other in this building based on the energy that was passing around us, and said, you know what, we know for a fact we're on the right path, but we also know for a fact that we are supposed to be doing something a little different. So it was around that time we figured out we need to get Africa Bambaataa of the Universal Zulu Nation of Hip Hop to put on a show. And the show we were going to have was going to be, if this is 2011 now, it was going to be Africa Bambaataa and Egyptian Lover here at this place called the Rhythm Lounge. And the Rhythm Lounge was on Pine Street again, and it was on the corner of 3rd and Pine Street, which, for me was just a very big symbolic thing to have there, and bring, your boy Egyptian Lover and Africa Bambaataa, two of the godfathers of the hip hop movement sound from coast to coast, in one building, one night in October, of 2011. Very powerful, very, very amazing night. Even though I was still a baby in a lot of the knowledge I was gaining at the time, I just realized that night set off a lot of powerful things for me. Now, what I will also tell you is that began a ripple effect in my soul that led me to have a great quickening. And I'm going to take you to the building I used to live in just to give you an idea. Take our UFO a little bit further. Yeah, look at that. Now our UFO is over the housing areas here. And we're just sort of looking for my building. I'm hovering over a couple of these places until it starts to come into view, because I'm referencing the streets here from the top. So let's see. Okay. I can retrace my steps here. There's a church on the corner from where I used to live. That you could hear the bell toll. Ooh, let me zoom out. My UFO is getting out of control here. I don't want to lose you guys. Where's that church? I just saw it out of the corner of my eye before I zoomed over too far here. We're starting to lose. I'm starting to lose myself here, because the buildings hadn't quite come into view through the rendering of Google Earth. Let's see here. Okay, so okay, here we are. All right, so I will dive right back down, and I'm actually a little lost, guys. Just bear with me here. I had the church in view, and I must have pushed out too far too soon. So let's start from the promenade, because that's always the easiest. So here's the promenade. Boom, boom, boom. We walk this way. There's the church. Okay, here's the church that I would reference as a landmark. Please check it out. There's something very powerful happening there. Won't go into it. Okay, so then here we go. This was the street that crosses Cherry. So here's Cherry, and let's see, we would come down one, two, three, four. That's my building right there. So this building right here has a rooftop. You can actually come up to it and just sit on the roof and look out across Long Beach in all directions. But this building right here, I specifically believe has something going on with it. Not that, I mean, it didn't before I got there. It's just something was going on there. But the winter of that year, the entity that was still around in the energies in Long Beach was sharing some amazing information with me and asked me to open up a Stargate, a different kind of Stargate, a vibratorial Stargate, and I followed suit instead of just asking why. This was the first time I'd been asked to do something by it. I followed suit, and it asked me to set up my speakers around my laptop, play alpha frequencies directly at my screen, take the LED flashlight that I used a lot on my walks and place it on a hinge system and face it directly at my screen, and then open up what we're using right now, Google Earth, and play these tones at the screen with Google Earth open. At this very moment, there was also Jay-Z releasing his decoded information, and he was talking to Cornel West in New York live via the internet. Now, we all know the internet is a culmination of consciousness. So the entity said, please turn on the live stream and let the entities on the other side of your screen hear this live broadcast, and we're going to send this information back to the Sirius star. Hey, I mean, I'd done my studying. I knew what happens on Sirius. I knew what the Dogons, understood of Sirius at this time and all this stuff. But hey, I'm just following suit. So I closed the bedroom door. I begin the process. I lock the bedroom door actually, and I begin the process of running this new technological thing it's had me set up at my computer screen. And then I pull up, the live stream of Cornel West and Jay-Z talking, and then I pull up the exact building that they're in on Google Maps, and I'm using all of this alchemical state of the ones and zeros in the computer to create a resonance of information that then goes back out into a gate that's instant, wherever what's on this side instantly is with what's on the other side of the gate, even though they don't have to touch. They're kind of touching. Okay, they're brought together. It's folding of space. And what we were sharing with the beings in that star system is that the sound technology of the culture that helped found a lot of the special buildings and powers here on the meridians of the earth had been hijacked and was now being utilized in an ill-proper manner. And this is what it's telling me. I'm not making my own mind up here. I'm actually telling you what was being transmitted back to me. So this is why it asked me to do this, so that the beings there could actually see, and not just feel, but actually see what was going on. Okay, so this blew my mind. The whole setup began to vibrate my room to the point where the roommate I was living with at the time bangs on my door really hard. Boom, boom, boom. What the heck are you doing? He's like, the whole house is vibrating. What are you doing? And I'm like, yo, get away. I'm on a mission. He doesn't quite get it. Now, TC, Islam, the gentleman I spoke to you about earlier, who was also getting information, is in Brazil at this time on tour with Africa Bambaataa. And I said that to say he was on tour. So I forget why I brought him up now, but he was on tour, and I'm really holding down the fort here at this place that we've locked down as our base camp here in Long Beach. So we had 3 roommates. It was him, myself, and another gentleman. And, this other gentleman just really antagonistic and wasn't being very cooperative, so to speak. It's 9:38, guys. Oh, it's K Beta. Sorry about that phone call. That was a friend, K Beta, who I will get in the studio here soon, but this is actually very important, so we'll continue along with this. I know this video is long. It's probably the longest video I'll ever do. I don't like doing long videos because you lose attention. But if you're very interested, you'll just play along with me and follow. So this building here is totally obscured. The front of it is obscured with trees. It's one of the very few buildings to do this. Okay, there's a lot of entities that run through Long Beach, and this building, I guarantee you, was having to deal with one of the most powerful ones. Now, the day this all happens, I'm kind of like thrown back. I've never seen any of this kind of technology before, or I would say the use of technology before, so that I'm kind of like just really an observer of what's going on as I'm utilizing what knowledge is being imparted to me. And it tired me out having to go through this, to the point where, I left the door locked. I never came out of the room that night. I watched the whole thing go down, and I had no recollection of feeling fear or anxiety, but I just know for a fact I was in shock and awe. And I passed out, probably earlier than my normal bedtime, which is 3 in the morning at that time, but probably let's say 10. And I woke up early in the morning, at least around 4 in the morning, shocked that I'd passed out. And my window is wide open, so it's cold now, and I'm freezing. So I kind of get up and I go over to my computer. It's still running, and I heard this voice in my head that wasn't like the current voices I was having to deal with, because it's not a voices, the current voice I was having to deal with when I built this technological gate thing on my computer desk. Now I was hearing my friend TC Islam, and he said to me, "Can you hear me?" And I said, "Yeah, I hear you. I hear you." And he said, "Go to your computer and verify that you can hear me." I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "Log on to AIM," because at that point we're using the AIM chat. And so I log into my AIM. I see that, there's nobody up that time of night, so not many people are going to be signed on to AIM. And he signed in, and he instantly says, "Hi, you got my message?" I said, "Yes. How did you do that?" There was a long pause, and then I heard another reply in my head saying, "This is the way of a shaman. We have an ability to give each other information over long distances." So then I typed back, instead of replying in my mind, I said, "Are you serious?" And he types back to me, "Yes." And then he says to me, "Do not use this for any other purpose to communicate with anybody else." And that's what I'm telling you right now. Personally, I'm a hardhead. I'll disobey maybe the first time you tell me something, just because I'm going to experiment. I'm a little bit of a rebel. And I said, "Heck no, man." I'm going to try this on somebody else. And I had a crush at the time that, was very dear to me. Just because I kind of looked over their soul from the way I could astral travel to them, without this telepathy thing, but more of an astral travel visualization to them. And I said to myself, well, let me see if I can contact them, since I've been astral traveling to them for so long. And sure enough, I said to the person, "Hey, wake up. You want to talk?" They signed on to IM instantly and said, "Hi." And I said, "Hey, did you hear me?" The person says, "No, I was just thinking about you though, and I had a dream you were kind of like, what did they say? I had a dream you were playing me some music or something like that, because I was making mixtapes for this music at the time." And I was like, "Oh well." I was like, "Wow." I was like, "I actually just tried to contact you." And the person said, "By my phone?" I was like, "No, with my mind." And then they instantly signed off, freaked out, signed right out of the AIM. And I'm like, okay, I probably shouldn't have said that. Maybe I should have just been a little bit more dumb. And Needless to say, that person never signed back into AIM ever again to talk to me ever again, ever. And I wasn't too sad. I was kind of just disappointed in myself for going against what my, mentor told me not to do. And I laid my butt back down and kind of in a very joyous state. Couldn't even get rid of this joy that was like now all through my body. Just stayed up till the sun came up. And I began my normal day as I would, as I would walk out of this front of this building right here and take my walk down Cherry towards the waterfront. But on this morning, when I step out, and this is how I'm going to end this entire video, because I could probably take this a lot further, and which I will. But as I walked out of the building that morning, in ash, on the front, I would call it foyer area outside the building, in ash was drawn a swastika. Okay? I'm not saying it was Nazis. I'm just telling you that that morning in front of my building in ash was drawn a swastika. Okay? And with that said, that's kind of what you start running into when your seven chakras are always running and you're not in judgment and you're not in fear. And you're allowed to use all the adrenaline and all the dopamine that runs through your body experiencing these type of effects. So, thank you for hanging out with DJ Dab, aka Last Dragon, and we'll talk more about, Long Beach and the 33rd parallel when I was 33. Damn.